do church online, there are a few rules of live stream etiquette you'll need to follow. First, make sure you wear Sunday's best. Uh-oh. Now that's the ticket. You don't want to look like a crumb bum to the rest of your family, do you? You want this to be as close to your normal church experience as possible, so make sure you brew yourself a nice hot cup of joe. You know what they say, fueled by coffee, saved by grace. Whatever that means. And don't forget to spill a little on the living room carpet to make the experience authentic. While you're getting settled in, make sure you grab a journal to take notes on. Your kids won't think you're a cotton-headed nitty-muggin. They'll think you're swell. One great thing about church at home is no one can hear you crunching loudly on snacks. So turn that volume up on the television and snack away. We call them sermon snacks. And you won't have to get up in the middle of the sermon to grab a snack because you came prepared. Finally, you can host a party. No, not a physical party, you junkhead. Host an online party or share the link to our live stream with your friends. It's the easiest way to invite them to church with you. Now you've got it. You've got some moxie.
Check. Now you guys can hear me. Hopefully you guys can hear me. You guys hear me now? I'm gonna redo that. All right, ready? We're gonna go. I'm gonna come in. Throw it up. Hit the whoa. What up, y'all? How's it going? Welcome to the live stream with me. Kind of. You're kind of with me, but not really with me because social distancing. Welcome to social distance life. I need to remove this little box thing that I forgot to do earlier. So give me 1 second. You're gonna see my plaid here for a second. Boop. 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 There it is. All right, look it. I thought I was like all ready for the live stream, and now I'm not. But now I am. So welcome to live stream, guys. I'm so glad that you guys are here. I do have something I need to talk to you guys about before we get started, and it's this. You see this wall behind me? Back here. This wall right here with the dartboard. This thing. I need to know what to put on it. Okay, I'm really sick of the white wall. So let me know in the chat. Let me know first off, let me know that you're here. Say hi. I see a bunch of you guys. What up? Let me know, what should I put on this wall? Like, I feel like this is a really big space that I need to be able to put stuff on. And this wall over here and a light switch. That light switch does literally nothing for the live stream. But let me know, what should I put on the walls back here? What should we do? It's a really big wall. There's a 10-second delay, so now I'm going to wait for your answers because I want to know. What should we do with the wall? How are you guys doing? It's Wednesday night. It's supposed to rain all day, but it didn't rain all day. And so I'm like, what do I do now? Like, I was supposed to go outside. I should have went outside, but whatever. So we're doing a live stream. What else? What up, Alyssa? We are doing a live stream. I'm live. I'm literally in my basement right now. So, okay, Colton, you're saying I should put Fortnite. Ari, you're saying I should paint it cool. Ooh, I don't know if my wife would let me. I don't know if my wife would let me do that. You should get a big, giant Cbc Students logo wall sticker. You know what? I agree. I should get a big Cbc Students. That would be super sweet. Alyssa, we'll be doing Zoom meetings after. This ain't Alyssa. It's one of the Cox siblings. I don't know which one it is, if it's Troy or somebody else. We will be doing Zoom after. If this is your first time, welcome. Ohio State poster. I'd rather put a picture of a dumpster. It's raining at your house. I think it's raining at my house at this point. But who knows? Anyways, let me know. Let me know in the chat at some point tonight what should I be doing on this wall, because I got to do something. It's a little boring. And my life is not boring at all. So anyways, let's get going with tonight. I got one announcement, and I'm super pumped for it. And it's this. It's the Fortnite tournament happening this Friday. We are doing a Fortnite tournament at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock Friday night. We're doing a Fortnite tournament. So it's not Thursday, so that's a little caveat. We're not going to be doing gaming with Ty tomorrow because I need to spend more time working if I'm going to be running the Fortnite tournament on Friday. So here's what happens. Here's how you can enter into this. You can either do one of two things. Well, the one thing you have to do is you have to register. You have to register you and your team. It's a duos tournament, so you need one other partner. Your partner can be anybody that you want. It could be anybody that you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be a student. It could be a parent. It could be a brother. It could be a sibling. It could be a friend. It could be whoever you want it to be, as long as... Yeah, it can basically be whoever it is, as long as you are playing with them. And so it's going to be our Fortnite tournament this Friday night at 8 o'clock. So what you can do is this. You have to go online and register. You can do that by going to, for friends on Snapchat, check Snapchat. If not, you can go to Cbc Students Brighton Instagram page, and you can sign up there. Or we will put the link in YouTube somewhere for you guys to sign up. And it'll be all over our social media stuff. So make sure you guys go sign up. If you sign up, you have to put your name and the student's name or your friend's name, teammate's name, whatever, in the sign up. And then I will send you guys a Zoom link that we will go into Zoom to start the tournament. I'll explain all the rules, how it's going to run, all that type of fun stuff. And then we're going to start right at 8 o'clock with that and then get right into the tournament. So far, we have 8 teams signed up. So if you want to get into it, make sure you get in it if you win the tournament. So if you win the tournament, you are walking away with a $50 gift card to Amazon because Amazon's the only store that's open. So make sure that that's a lie. There's a bunch of stores open. But let's be honest, you don't have to go. So you can win literally a $50 gift card to Amazon. So can your partner. So enter in that Fortnite tournament. Let's see if you can beat your favorite youth pastor. Holla! Because I'm going to be playing as well with my boy, Matt. None of you know Matt. So we're going to be going into the Fortnite tournament. That is the only announcement I have for you guys. So let's move on to our next thing, which is this. Last week we aired our very first episode of SGL Cribs featuring my boy Luke and his wife Jenny, and they did really awesome. And so we are going into our second week of SGL Cribs, second episode starring your boy Tim. Okay, let's do this.
What's up, guys? This is Tim. I'm here in my crib, or actually my parents' crib. And we've all been hanging out in our houses a lot for this quarantine, so I'm just going to show you around the house a little bit. What I've been doing and where I hang out in my house. So right now we're in the lanai. This is kind of like a Four Seasons room, and I come out here a lot. So right behind me here I have this table. Typically I've sat here to do some Bible studies, video chats, or come out here in the morning. Outside all these windows is a big field, and so I come and watch all the animals in the morning. Just look outside, watch the sunset, see what's going on while I read my Bible or something. So yeah, this is a really cool room. Use it for a lot of things. So out here is the kitchen and dining room area. This coffee bar here is one of the most important parts of the house. I use it every morning. I set up my coffee maker before I wake up, grab a cup of coffee, and I come over to my favorite spot here, the fireplace. If you guys didn't know, I love fireplaces, and I've always laid by them and sat by them for my whole life. So when I wake up in the morning, right now, the first place I go is to this fire. I grab my coffee, bring my Bible over here, and I will just sit as close as I can to the fireplace on this bench, do my little time with God in the morning, and then move on from there. So let's keep going through the house here, downstairs. Give you a tour of some of the other stuff that I use commonly. If you can't tell, I like hunting and being outside, and that's reflected in our house. So down here, I think this is an important part of the house. This is my deer from Missouri a couple years ago. My first ever deer, actually. But that was a really fun experience. A picture of our family business, kind of an aerial view. This is also where I spend a lot of time working. By the way, this is my dog Buster over here. He is biting on my camera person. He's a little bit crazy, but we love him. Okay, so anyways, this is the little living room area downstairs. I use these gymnastic rings all the time. Right now I can't go to the gym, if you didn't know. You can't go to gyms because of coronavirus. So I use these gymnastic rings, do all kinds of fun stuff. I have a few little weights down there on the floor. And then sometimes I'll run around the field or something. So I have different ways to exercise. And then also we just kind of watch movies down here, and it's a fun place to hang out. Another fireplace. You can tell I like fireplaces. Let's move into the last room here. Drag Buster along with us. Guys, trivia question here. This pulpit that's sitting in our little church decoration area, where does that come from? I'd be impressed if somebody came up to me and told me, where does that pulpit come from? This is where I end the day, every day, hopefully. This is my bedroom. Kind of reflects some of the stuff that I like to do. There's kind of outdoor scenery, a little fishing picture here. Fishers of Men, it's a cool Bible verse. And then I got a lot of books, and then, of course, my pillow pet. My mom forces me to keep that, so I keep it around, and I also really like it. So, yeah, that's my crib. I hope you guys are enjoying your quarantine, finding stuff to do, and I hope we can all be together soon.
Okay, does anybody else think that that boy lives in a freaking like log cabin? Right? Like, he totally lives in a log cabin. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. His family built that house. If you didn't catch that, his family literally built that house. They just moved in kind of recently, kind of in the last, little bit. So that's Tim's crib. Let us know in the chat, what leader do you want to see next? What leader's crib do you want to see next? We do this because, let's be honest, we want to engage with you guys as much as possible, but we also want to be intentional about showing us, we're all locked in our houses. So what's a better way than showing you where we're living than shooting a video to watch you where you live or where we live? So let us know in the chat, who do you want to see next? Whose house did you love to see next? We'd love to shoot more videos with that thing. So without further ado, we are going to get straight into our third week. We are on third week of our series, Atypical. And I'm very excited to bring the word tonight because I'm super pumped because I think this conversation that we're going to have is really important and it's really tough. Hint, hint on the word tough. So without further ado, let's get into our third week of Atypical. Okay, I have to start with this story, and it's a pretty funny story, so track with me here. Okay, so I will be very honest, when I was in middle school, I was a little bit of a player. Scratch that, wannabe player. Okay, right? So, middle school, boys, things start happening in your life where, girls start looking pretty rather than icky. All of a sudden, it's like, man, I got a crush on, 7 girls. I'm just going to be real with you guys. I'm going to be transparent. That's what was going on in my life. And, texting became a really big thing when I was in middle school. For the first time, it was literally just calling. And it was at that point, it's I ain't calling a girl. That's awkward. I ain't even going to look at a girl. But I definitely have a crush on a girl. And so I would, texting was big. So it was really kind of the thing to do. It's just kind of text a bunch of friends, girls. And we would watch, we would, text a bunch, or I text, a bunch of my friends, and, friends as in if any of them all of a sudden had an interest in me, it'd be I definitely have an interest in you as well. And so, texting, the thing was, is my parents didn't really like read my text growing up, and so or they did, but like later in life, not when I first started texting, because they're like, who could you possibly be texting? Well, little did they know I texted all my friends, which were like 3. But I would text a bunch of these girls, right? And I didn't think my parents were checking my phone at this point. I didn't know that my parents were checking my phone, and so at one point in the world, or one point in life, my parents were sitting around the dinner table, and my mom like had this really weird random idea of like asking me this question in front of literally it was me, my sister, my dad, and my mom and our dog. And my mom literally sat there and asked me this question, was like, hey Ty, how's the girl life recently? And I was like, what? Girl life? What are you talking about, girl life? I don't have a girl life. Are you what? And she goes, well, I looked at your phone and you were texting about 7 of them. So there's got to be something. And guys, I cannot tell you how freaking awkward it was when I literally had to sit there and go, well, mom caught me. And I'm like, what do I do in this moment? This very awkward conversation, this very awkward interaction between my mom, now my whole family and me. And she's basically trying to call me out of my game. I'm just saying, I'm like, Mom, I none of the girls like me, so it doesn't matter. But thanks for calling me out. There are just some conversations that are just awkward, right? There's some conversations that are totally awkward, but then there are conversations in your life, in our lives, in my life, that are just plain difficult to have with a family member, right? I'm talking about the kind of like tough conversations you have to have when there's conflict, right? And someone has been hurt, or someone has made a bad decision, or needs to apologize. So we are going to do we're going to do a little bit of a poll real quick. So I'm going to need you guys active on the chat, just like last week. We're going to do a little bit of a poll. And the first one is this. The first question is this. Answer one of 3 ways, and it's this. How often do you have tough conversations with your family members? How often do you have tough conversations with your family members? Do you A, have them sometimes? Do you B, have them often? Or do you C, have them never? Sometimes, often, or never. Let me know in the chat. What are you guys doing? Or how often do you guys have tough conversations with your family members? Sometimes, often, or never. Sometimes, often, or never. I'm going to wait for the chat. I want to hear you guys. I want to listen to you guys. I want to see where you land on this. Do you sometimes have it? Sometimes have it. I see a couple sometimes coming across. I see somebody says, never have the tough conversations with your families. Does anybody have tough conversations often? Okay, there's a couple oftens coming across right now. Sometimes, never, sometimes, it's all across the board. Okay, so here's the second question, and it's this. How much do you enjoy having those conversations? How often how much do you enjoy having those tough conversations? And so are you A, you love them, you're always totally relaxed to them, or do they stress you out a little bit, but you can handle it? Or is it C, I can't do it, where's the escape button? Like, right? So is it A, I love them, B, they stress me out, or D or C, I can't even spell. Or is it C, I can't do it, where's the escape button? I don't know what to do. Let me know, A, B, or C for our second question. How much do you enjoy having those tough conversations? I don't know about you, but I don't love having tough conversations. I can do them when I need to, but I don't love doing them. So like we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, you guys are kind of all over the place. So a lot of you guys are saying like they stress me out a little bit, but I don't. I can handle them. Some of you are like, absolutely not. I hate them. They're awkward. I'm out of here. Not many of you, really, not any of you say A for this one. Not any of you say A for this one. Because that's, who loves hard conversations? That'd be tricky, right? It totally would. So here's the thing. Like we've been saying the last couple of weeks, every family is an atypical family because no family is perfect, right? No family is perfect. And because no family is perfect, every family occasionally has to have tough conversations. Maybe those tough conversations happen because of a difference in opinion or an unwise choice that someone made, or it's hurt feelings or a misunderstanding that needs to be addressed. Typical families either avoid these conversations, right? Or they really have them, but they don't go very well. Atypical families, on the other hand, approach their tough family conflicts and conversations completely differently, right? For the last couple of weeks, we have been saying that your atypical family can be used by God to do amazing atypical things in the world. But the question is, how? Last week, we talked about how atypical families pray for each other, and that when there is conflict, the first thing we should do is pray. And today, Junior, today we're going to discover a second thing that atypical families do. So far in the series, we've met two families. The first one was the family of Adam and Eve, the world's very first family. And then last week, we learned about the family of Abraham. Both of these families were super atypical, and they were imperfect in their own ways. Disobedience to God, lies, murder, conflict, disagreements. They all make the stories of these families far from perfect. Today, I want to introduce you to another family. This story is about the family of Isaac and Rebekah and their sons, Jacob and Esau. Isaac was the son of Abraham, the guy that we talked about last week. It's the son of that guy, which means Jacob and Esau were Abraham's grandsons. But Jacob and Esau's story isn't the story of brotherly love. It was an imperfect relationship right from the start. In the beginning, of this story, we see that when Rebekah and Isaac, when they first had a kid, or when they first got pregnant, it even says in Genesis that those two were fighting in the womb, right? They were fighting in the womb, which is kind of crazy. It says that they kicked and they fought, and Rebekah felt it so much. She goes, what is the point of living at this point? These kids cannot settle down in my womb. So before they were even born, they were quote unquote fighting. You see, eventually they got older. And a little bit of context of the story is eventually they get older. Jacob tricks his brother. So Esau is like the oldest out of the two because they were twins. Esau was tricked by Jacob into giving him his birthright. And so if you don't know what a birthright is, basically it's this thing back in biblical times. It's kind of like an inheritance, right? If your parents were to pass away, or if somebody's parents were to pass away, normally their all the money that they have, all the fortune that they have gets passed down to their kids. Now, that's not every family, but it's kind of like that, where Isaac has this basically Esau, since he's the oldest son, he gets the birthright, which means he basically gets the largest share of inheritance. And so Jacob goes through this situation. It's kind of a funny story. You can go back and read it. Jacob kind of tricks Esau into saying like, hey, I've got this really warm bowl of soup, and I'll trade you this really warm bowl of soup for your birthright. And Esau, who knows why, says sure. And so Esau gives away his birthright, which is something super valuable. It's a crazy story. You have to go back and read it. Well, anyways, we're going to pick up in Genesis 27. And I'm going to read it for you guys, and we're going to read almost the whole story. So make sure you guys pay attention. Make sure you guys stay listening. I'm going to read it for you guys, so pay attention to my voice. It is in Genesis chapter 27, reading from a different translation than I normally use, but it kind of flows better with the story. And it says this: when Isaac had become an old man and was nearly blind, so again, Isaac, son of Jacob and Esau, he called his eldest son Esau and said, my son. Yes, father? I am an old man, he said. I might die any day now. So do me a favor, get your quiver of arrows and your bow and go out into the country and hunt me some game. Then fix me a hearty meal, the kind that you know I like, and bring it to me to eat so that I can give you my personal blessing before I die. So this is like the blessing of the birthright. Rebekah was eavesdropping as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. As soon as Esau had gone off to the country to hunt game for his father, Rebekah spoke to her son Jacob. I just overheard your father talking with your brother Esau. He said, bring me some game and fix me a hearty meal so that I can eat and bless you with God's blessing before I die. Now, my son, listen to me. So this is Rebekah speaking to Jacob. Do what I tell you. Go to the flock and get me 2 young goats. Pick the very best. I'll prepare them into a hearty meal, the kind that your father loves. Then you'll take it to your father. He'll eat and bless you before he dies. But mother, Jacob said, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I have smooth skin. Okay, so tip, Esau is hairy, Jacob is not. What happens if my father touches me? He'll think I'm playing games with him. I'll bring down a curse on myself instead of a blessing. If it comes to that, said his mother, I'll take the curse on myself. Now just do what I say, go and get the goats. So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and she cooked a hearty meal, the kind his father loved so much. Rebekah took the dress-up clothes of her older son Esau and put them on her younger son Jacob. She took the goat skins and covered his hands with the smooth nape nape of his neck. Then she placed the hearty meal she had fixed and fresh bread she'd baked into the hands of her son Jacob. He went to his father and said, "My father." "Yes," he said. "Which son are you?" Jacob answered his father, "I am your firstborn son Esau. I did what you told me. Come now, sit up and eat my game so you can give me your personal blessing." Isaac said, "So soon? How did you get it so quickly?" Jacob said, "Because your God cleared the way for me." Isaac said, "Come close, son. Let me touch you. Are you really my son Esau?" So Jacob moved close to his father Isaac. Isaac felt him and said, the voice of Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. He didn't recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother's Esau. But as he was about to bless him, he pressed him. "You're sure you are my son Esau?" "Yes, I am," said Jacob. Isaac said, "Bring the food so I can eat of my son's game and give you my personal blessing." Jacob brought it to him and he ate. He also brought him wine and he drank. Then Isaac said, "Come close, son, and kiss me." He came close and kissed him, and Isaac smelled the smell of his clothes. Finally, he blessed him. "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of the open country blessed by God. May God give you of heaven's dew and earth's bounty of grain and wine. May peoples serve you and nations honor you. You will master your brothers, and your mother's sons will honor you. Those who curse you will be cursed. Those who bless you will be blessed." And then, right after Isaac had blessed Jacob and Jacob had left, Esau showed up from the hunt. He also had prepared a hearty meal. He came to his father and said, "Let my father get up and eat of his son's game, that he may give his personal blessing." His father Isaac said, "And who are you?" "I am your son, your firstborn Esau." Isaac started to tremble, shaking violently. He said, "Then who hunted game and brought it to me? I finished the meal just now before you walked in, and I blessed him. He's blessed for good." Esau, hearing his father's words, sobbed violently and most bitterly and cried to his father, "My father, can't you also bless me?" "Your brother," he said, "came here falsely and took your blessing." Esau said, "Not for nothing was he named Jacob, the heel. Twice now he's tricked me. First he took my birthright, and now he's taking my blessing." He begged, "Haven't you kept any blessing for me?" Isaac said to Esau, "I've made him your master, and all his brothers his servants, and I lavished grain and wine on him. I've given it all away. What's left for you, my son?" "But don't you just have one blessing for me, father?" "Oh, bless me, my father, bless me." Esau sobbed inconsolably. Isaac said to him, "You'll live far from earth's bounty, remote from heaven's dew. You'll live by your sword, hand to mouth, and you'll serve your brother. But when you can't take it anymore, you'll break loose and run free." Esau seethed in anger against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. He brooded, "The time for mourning my father's death is close, and then I'll kill my brother Jacob." When these words of her older son Esau were reported back to Rebekah, she called her younger son Jacob and said, "Your brother Esau is plotting against you, is plotting vengeance against you. He's going to kill you, son. Listen to me. Get out of here. Run for your life to Haran, to my brother Laban. Live with him for a while until your brother cools down, until his anger subsides and he forgets what you did to him. I'll then send for you and bring you back. Why should I lose both of you the same day?" Okay. Talk about nutty, right? So at this point, there's competition, there's jealousy, there's deception, there's conspiracies, there's costumes, there's heartbreak, and there's soup. There's a lot going on here. But here's the bottom line. With his mom's help, Jacob tricked his brother Esau into giving up something super valuable, being his birthright. With his mom's help, Jacob tricked his dying father into giving him a gift that was never intended for him. And instead of owning up to his bad behavior and making things right, Jacob totally ran away. Again, with his mom's help. Can you imagine being a member of this family? Like, could you guys really imagine being a member of this family? That's a lot of pain. That's a lot of deceit. That's a lot of cruelty for just one family. But that's not the end of Jacob and Esau's story. You see, yeah. So like, I see your question. Isaac could not see. He was blind. So like, talk about being nuts, right? Like, you go and trick your blind dad, you've got no heart or soul. The thing is, years later, Jacob is married and he has children of his own, but he hasn't spoken to Esau since the day that he ran away. And now he's on his way. Fast forward, he's now on his way to Esau's city. Knowing Esau has every right to hate him and probably even want to kill him still, Jacob sends messengers to Esau with plenty of gifts, hoping to show Esau that he is sorry. I don't know how you could be sorry for what you did. Like, I don't know how in the world this dude could do this. And so we find in Genesis 32, again, and this is starting at verse 3, and it says this. Then Jacob sent messengers on ahead to his brother Esau in the land of Seir and Edom. He instructed them, tell my master Esau this. So, okay, Esau's all of a sudden my master. Interesting. A message from your servant Jacob. I've been staying with Laban and couldn't get away until now. I've acquired cattle and donkeys and sheep, also men and women servants. I'm telling you all this, my master, hoping for your approval. So Jacob is now entering into the city of Esau, and he's like, hey, I'm going to try and bribe him. I'm going to try and show him that basically I'm going to try and bribe him and give him a bunch of gifts so that he forgives me. So the messengers go on and they come back. The messengers came back to Jacob and said, we talked to your brother Esau, and he's on his way to meet you, but he has 400 men with him. Jacob was scared, very scared. Panicked, he divided his people, sheep, cattle, and camels into 2 camps. He thought if Esau comes on the first camp and attacks it, the other camp has a chance to get away. And then Jacob prayed, God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, God who told me, go back to your parents' homeland and I'll treat you well. I don't deserve all the love and loyalty that you've shown me. When I left here and crossed the Jordan, I had only the clothes on my back, and now look at me. 2 camps? Save me, please, from the violence of my brother, my angry brother. I'm afraid he'll come and attack us all, me, the mothers, and the children. You yourself said, I will treat you well. I'll make your descendants like the sands of the sea, far too many to count. He slept the night there. Then he prepared a present for his brother Esau from his possessions. So basically, again, he's just saying, okay, I'm going to split my people in half. If he attacks one, the other half can get away. He's basically like cutting his losses at this point, going, if Esau attacks with his 400 men, at least I can save half of my stuff. And then he falls asleep and he prepares a gift for his brother. And this is what he prepares him. 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 camels with their nursing young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He then put a servant in charge of each herd and said, go ahead of me and keep a healthy space between each herd. Then he instructed the first one out. When my brother Esau comes close and asks, who is your master? Where are you going? Who owns these? Answer him like this. Your servant Jacob. They are a gift to my master Esau. He's on his way. He gave the same instructions to the second servant and to the third, to each in turn as they set out with the herds. Say, your servant Jacob is on his way behind us. He thought, I will soften him with a succession of gifts. Then when he sees me face to face, maybe he'll be glad to welcome me. Okay. Pause. Talk about absolutely nuts. I've had some very tough conversations with my family before, but nothing like the conversation that Jacob and Esau are about to have. Jacob knows he needs to make things right with his brother Esau, but who knows what Esau could be thinking? You see, when conflict happens, but you're too stubborn, or you're too angry, or you're too ashamed, or you're too afraid to have a tough conversation with your family, it leaves room for some ugly things to grow. And so after years of silence, Esau might hate Jacob. He might even want him dead. But we pick the story back up in Genesis 33, and it says this. Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming with his 400 men. So I don't know about you, but I'd be shaking in my boots if I was Jacob. He divided the children between Leah and Rachel and the 2 maidservants. He put the maidservants out in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. He led the way, and as he approached his brother, bowed 7 times, honoring his brother. But Esau ran up and embraced him, held him tight, and kissed him, and they both wept. What? Plot twist. Then Esau looked around and saw the women and children. And who are these with you? Jacob said, the children of God that God saw fit to bless me with. Then the maidservants came up with their children and bowed. Then Leah and her children also bowing. And finally Joseph and Rachel came up and bowed to Esau. Esau then asked, and what was the meaning of all those herds that I met? I was hoping that they would pave the way for my master to welcome me. That was what Jacob said. Esau said, oh, brother, I have plenty of everything. Keep what is yours for yourself. Jacob said, please, if you can find it in your heart to welcome me, accept these gifts. When I saw your face, it was as the face of God smiling on me. Accept the gifts I have brought for you. God has been good to me, and I have more than enough. Jacob urged the gifts on him, and Esau accepted. Then Esau said, let's start out our way. I'll take the lead. But Jacob said, My master can see that the children are frail and the flocks and herds are nursing, making for slow going. If I push them too hard, even for a day, I'd lose them all. So, master, you go ahead of your servant while I take it easy at the pace of my flocks and children. I will catch up with you in time. Okay, so amazingly, miraculously, Esau didn't let the years of separation from his brother fill him with anger and hatred. Instead, Esau wanted to have a relationship with Jacob again. But Jacob and Esau's conversation could have went so very differently. It makes sense that Jacob was afraid to meet Esau, right? He was probably ashamed to admit that one, he had done wrong, but that he was also afraid that Esau might, kill him. I don't know. Esau could have screamed at Jacob. He could have attacked him. He could have killed him. That would have been the understandable thing, right? Jacob had stolen so much from Esau and never made it right. He ran away and disappeared. But against all odds, Esau didn't show up to kill Jacob. He showed up with open arms. He showed up ready to have a conversation. Esau's willingness to have a conversation with Jacob, even after what Jacob did to him, is pretty amazing. And it was absolutely essential to healing their relationships. You see, many years after Jacob and Esau reconciled, Jesus preached a sermon to a group of his followers. And part of that sermon was about having tough conversations. Matthew 18 says this: if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother back. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. So you see, God loves to see us living at peace with one another. But not this fake peace, not this cheap, fake peace that's, you on the outside, you've got a smile, but on the inside, you want to kill somebody. Where we smile at each other secretly, or we smile at each other, but then we secretly hate each other. Like we learned 2 weeks ago when we read about the story of Adam and Eve, God designed us to be in relationships with both God and with each other. And when we refuse to have tough conversations with each other, it separates us from one another. And when we hang on to bitterness and anger, it keeps us from having a closer relationship with God too. You see, throughout this series, we've been saying that if you want God to use your family to do atypical things, sometimes you have to be the first person in your family to do something atypical. That's what Esau did. And it's what Jesus teaches us to do as well. When you've hurt or you've been hurt, or if you've hurt or you've been hurt by someone in your family, the typical response is staying angry or avoiding each other or getting bitter. But Esau chose to do the atypical thing. He met with Jacob and he had the tough conversation. And this might seem simple, but it's so atypical. It's this. Our big idea is this for tonight. Not so typical families have tough conversations. Okay, that seems super simple, but everybody knows that that's harder or easier said than done. You see, just like a tough conversation can change the way that Jacob and Esau's relationship was, it can change their families for the better. Being willing to have a tough conversation can change your family for the better too. Every family has conflicts that they struggle to solve or to make right, but atypical families choose to have tough conversations in order to stay in relationships with each other. See, here's some things that that having tough conversations can do. It makes room for healing and repentance. It helps us learn to communicate and understand each other's perspectives. It gives us a chance to create a solution together that benefits everyone. But how do you have tough conversations? Having tough conversations with family members doesn't have to be complicated. Just like we talked about last week, how praying for your family doesn't have to be complicated, neither does having tough conversations. It can be as simple as asking something like, hey, can we talk about what happened? It could be as easy as just being patient when they share their feelings and their perspective. It could be really listening to your family member's point of view. It could be being honest about what you think and feel even when it's hard. Admitting when you're wrong. Maybe it's valuing your relationship more than being right. So think right now for a second. In this moment, think about a conflict that you have with a family member, if you have one. Now imagine how that conflict could be transformed if you were willing to have the tough conversations about it. How do you think a tough conversation could change your attitude or maybe change your perspective? How do you think a tough conversation could change the person that you're fighting with? How do you think a tough conversation could begin to change your family's pattern of behavior in the long term? You see, I know that it can be scary to have tough conversations with your family. Our family members have more power than anyone to make us feel safe and to feel loved, but they also have more power than anyone to hurt us. If there's a tough conversation you want or need to have with a family member, maybe we can practice having those tough conversations first. You see, on Wednesday nights and in Cbc Students, we might not be your family by blood, but we're still your family. When you guys go into small groups in just a moment, you guys are going to have this exercise that I have all your small group leaders doing with you. And it's an exercise where there's going to be a couple of prompts where I want you guys to kind of role play, where you guys can kind of role play some tough conversations that you can have with family members or a friend. Or maybe you aren't in that situation, so you come up with one. Come up with a situation where you're like, hey, we're going to role play this. So when you do get into that situation eventually in your life, because we all will, you're ready. As you guys leave today and as we get into small groups, I want you to ask yourself, are there any tough conversations I should have with my family? When conflicts happen, typical families get bitter and avoid resolving their conflicts. But not so typical families have tough conversations that help them heal and help them grow. If you commit to resolving your conflicts with your family through tough conversation, imagine how God might be able to use your family to do atypical things in the world. Imagine. Just imagine that. Let me pray for you guys, and then we're going to get off to small groups. Heavenly Father, we just are so grateful for you. Thank you that, God, first we are sorry that sometimes that we mess up and we fail and we cause bitterness or we hold on to bitterness towards family members, God. But thank you for allowing us to have tough conversations, even though they're tough, that we can still have them because we know that that is one of the first steps to healing and reconciling relationships with our family, God. We pray that you give us boldness to have those conversations, give us peace in knowing that that's the right thing to do. God, just thank you again for a place to come, even though it may be digitally, to learn about you, to dive into your word, to have fun. Jesus, we love you. In your son's name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, guys. Hey, real quick, we are going to hop over to small groups, and you guys know the deal at this point. So go ahead into the group chat, or not in the group chat. I'm sorry. I'm just knocking stuff down. Head into the video description. If you don't have the link into the small group, head into the video description. It's there. And if you don't know the password, text one of your small group leaders or small group leaders. Go ahead and send out a text to your small group. And we will see you guys in Zoom in just a couple minutes. Make sure, hey, real quick, make sure that you guys use the right name in Zoom, because I see a couple that I don't recognize the name. So you need to make sure you put your real name. Anyways, other than that, let's go. Yes, still no scares. I have not seen any scare videos, so I'm not going to show any until I get some. So, all right, I'll see y'all later.